everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of the Super Mario Galaxy movie, the sequel to the Super Mario Brothers movie, which came out in 2023. This film once again stars Chris Pratt, who voices Mario, Anya Taylor-Joy, who voices Princess Peach, Charlie Day as Luigi, Jack Black as Bowser, and Keegan-Michael Key as Toad. Joining him on this new adventure, you have Benny Safdie as Bowser Jr., Donald Glover as Yoshi, Glenn Powell as Fox McCloud, and Brie Larson as Princess Rosalina. In the film, Mario and Luigi and their friends adventure into outer space, where they meet Princess Rosalina and face off against Bowser and his son, aptly named Bowser Jr. Going into this, I really enjoyed the first film back in 2023. Didn't think I was, but I did. I mean, really enjoyed it, to the point where it's like one of the best video game adaptations ever. I really enjoyed the Super Mario Brothers movie. So when they announced that they were doing a sequel, of course, because the movie made, I think, $1 billion at the box office, so you knew they were going to make a sequel. And so I was pretty excited. And then the reviews started coming out, and it was getting lynched in the reviews. I have never seen so many bad reviews for an animated movie in my life. And I'm talking bad reviews. And I was frankly shocked by all of those reviews. I mean, it's a kids movie, so I'm like, what could be so bad about this movie? And my curiosity got piqued, but not for good reasons, now I wanted to see it just to see if it was as bad as people has been saying. Now, is it really that bad? As opposed to going to see it because I wanted to see it, I was excited to see it. And so nonetheless, went to peep it out. The Super Mario Galaxy movie. And no, it's not as bad as people say. Now, with that being said, it's not good. It is not a good movie, and I'm speaking from an adult aspect of it all. What made the Super Mario Brother movie exciting back in 2023 was that it appealed to everyone, kids and their parents and adults alike. It was something there for truly the whole family can enjoy, especially for the parents who grew up on Super Mario Brothers, like myself, playing on the old NES console. I was really enjoying that movie, and my girls enjoyed it. They were a little older. I mean, they weren't kids, but they enjoyed it too. But I was super impressed on how they being the filmmakers behind it, how they made it nostalgic yet up to date for the younger audience as well. Super impressed by it. We fast forward to 2026 with the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and I don't know who this is appealing to. Well, let me take that back. I know who they were appealing this to. Anybody under the age of 8. Kids will love it. That's why I'm saying that it's not as bad as people say it is, because this movie is not aimed at anyone over the age of 8. If you are able to spell your name, you probably won't enjoy this movie. But if you're still going to school and working on learning your colors and everything, you will love this movie. I don't know what happened. If they rushed it, which I'm assuming would happen, they really rushed the sequel out because of how successful the first film was, and I think they lost the plot. It wasn't just because it was Mario Brothers. That's not what appealed to the audience, what brought people to the theaters to go see this movie. What brought people to the theaters to see that movie was how good of a story it was, how nostalgic it was, how interesting of a story it was, and all the boxes were checked. This movie didn't have any of that. None of that. You had a kind of a subplot here that could have been interesting if they would have dove into it, but it was thrown in there. And I guess spoiler, a slight spoiler, not spoiling the ending per se, but if you played the games, you already know the relationship or the ties to Princess Peach and Princess Rosalina. And so if you know that from the comics, if you know that from the video games, this isn't going to be a spoiler, but they didn't really dive into that. It was a little throwaway, not even a full scene. Like I said, this wasn't made for adults. But before I go into full rant mode, let me give the positives because there was some positives with this film, and from me, not just looking at it from a kid standpoint. For me, the animation was gorgeous. I mean, it's Illumination, so it looked phenomenal. It was beautifully animated. No qualms about that whatsoever. The introduction, and I need y'all to listen to my words clearly. The introduction to Yoshi was great. That was the best scene in this movie. I love that scene, the little flashback scene. I, that was the movie for me. After that, everything else was bleh. But that was great. The few moments of nostalgia that we get in this film, the video game aspect ratios that we get, certain boards or levels from Super Mario Brothers throughout their game history. That was a cool little callback that they showed throughout the game. Thought that was phenomenal because it actually did work well within the movie. And so I loved that. Aside from that, the rest of this movie was, it really felt, honestly, I'm sitting there, I'm like, this would have played better on Nickelodeon or Disney or something to that effect. It was a show. It felt like a show because of the storytelling method. The film was kind of edited in bites, like an episode, and it felt like episodes just mashed together to make a movie. And so you'll get one little story. You'll get Mario and Luigi. They're on this mission, or doing this scene, and then when they finish with that particular scene, we cut. That's it. That was the end of that. You never go back to anything that took place in that scene. It was like that was the end of that. On to the next one. I mean, it was truly edited for those with short attention spans, a la little kids. Little kiddies. Those of us who were adults watching this movie were like, well, what about XYZ here? You didn't explain that. You didn't really dive into this. But yeah, it was done in a television format made for the big screen. Also, the big introduction for Princess Rosalina, she's barely in the movie. I mean, two scenes, maybe three, and she's barely in the movie. Yoshi, aside from the scene that I loved, his opening scene, there's absolutely no point of him being in this movie. He did nothing. It was nothing for him to do, and played no part in the rest of the movie. Not the climax, not helping the story along in this section of nothing. There was no he was just in the movie because everybody loves Yoshi, and he was set up in a post credit scene in the last movie, and so they had to put him in here. It was like, what was the point of Yoshi? There was 0 point. Um, Bowser, uh, played by Jack Black. Jack Black, who basically stole the first film as Bowser. This film started off decent, with this kind of reformed bad guy, and then he switched in the middle of it and went back to being a bad guy, full on bad guy, because he links back up with his son. Look, I get an aspect of that because that's your son, and I understand, but there was no depth there because it wasn't like he was struggling with his decision at any point. It was just like, oh, okay, my son's bad. I'm gonna be bad with him, and that was that. But just two scenes prior to this, you was willing to give your life for Mario and Luigi. Literally, you was literally ready to. Ironically, it's Easter weekend. You was really ready to die for their sins, and then all of a sudden, boom! No, I want to kill him. It just went. I don't understand who wrote this. Who wrote this movie? But kids aren't going to look at it that way. But unfortunately, they didn't take into account that the parents have to bring these kids and sit there and watch it too. So you want to keep their attention, their entertainment value, at least put it in consideration. It was really just dumb. They had some dumb decisions throughout this film, and the two post-credit scenes were, they could have kept that. They could have kept the two. It was a waste of time. Actually, they could have thrown it in the movie. It was no point sitting there for an extra 3 minutes just to see those two scenes. For what? You're setting up a sequel. We know it's going to be a sequel to this because we know it's still going to make money. The movie's still going to make billions. Why? Because of kids. You're going to bring your kids to see this. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. Because if my kids were younger, yeah, of course I would have brought them. Yeah, because this is a kids movie. But at the same time, you could have still gave us a compelling story. I know you're capable of doing it because you did it the first movie. But unfortunately, the Super Mario Galaxy movie didn't deliver, and it gets a letter grade of a C minus. And I'm giving it a C minus only because of the kids. The kids are going to enjoy this, and I'm talking young kids. Young kids. I'm talking fresh out of diapers who still probably pee-peeing on themselves. It's those kids. But as far as a family as a whole, if I had to give a grade on family as a whole, it would get a D minus. But I'm gonna give it the curve. I'm gonna give it a curve at a C minus for the Super Mario Galaxy movie. But even with that, even with all that I have said throughout this review, it's not as bad as a lot of other critics said. Actually, mine was glowing compared to some of these critics who has been destroying this movie online and in their reviews. But none of that matters. The only thing that matters is how did you feel about the Super Mario Galaxy movie? Did you like it? Did you love it? Or did you hate it? Let me know. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and then until we speak again, you all be blessed.